Today we're tackling something really common for English learners, that feeling like you're mentally stuck translating. If you've ever been in, say, an English conversation and felt like you're just a beat behind or you can't quite grab the right words.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it, how that very thing we think should help translating carefully can actually, well, hold us back from real fluency.
Exactly.
We've been looking into why constantly, converting thoughts from your native language before speaking English can slow you right down.
Right. And it could lead to some pretty unnatural phrasing sometimes.
Definitely.
Like when you hear someone say, I have cold, instead of the more natural, I am cool.
Yes. A classic example.
That kind of direct translation thing really shows the problem we're digging into. So our goal today is to give you some concrete strategies, ways to bypass that internal translator.
And start thinking directly in English.
Yes. We're aiming for, faster speaking, more confidence, maybe even better listening and pronunciation too.
Which raises a really important question. What are the typical things that stop learners from making that leap? That jump to thinking in English?
Okay, good question. Let's unpack that.
Our research points to a few key areas where even good intentions can accidentally get in the way.
Right. So number one obstacle, and it's probably not a huge surprise, is relying too heavily on translation.
It feels natural, doesn't it, to want to translate every little thing in your head?
Yeah, but the research really emphasizes that this keeps your brain kind of anchored to your native language.
It's like learning to ride a bike but never taking the training wheels off.
Oh, that's a great analogy. Yeah.
They help at first, but you need to ditch them eventually to actually balance and, move freely.
And that constant translation, it creates a sort of mental traffic jam, right?
Exactly. Your brain is doing double duty, processing the thought once, then scrambling for the English equivalent.
It takes time. It takes energy.
And leads to those awkward pauses we all want to avoid.
And speaking of mental effort, another thing that trips people up is, overthinking the grammar.
Yes, the quest for perfection.
Understandable.
Yeah.
But the sources we looked at say that getting bogged down in verb tenses and rules while you're trying to just think, it stifles natural speech.
It really can. And let's be honest, even native English speakers make grammatical slips all the time.
Well, definitely. All the time.
When you think about it, language is mostly about connection, communication.
Right. Getting the message across.
Exactly. Accuracy is important long term, sure. But fluency often means prioritizing just communicating, even if it's not, perfectly formed every single time.
Which connects to the next point, doesn't it? The fear of making mistakes.
That's a big one. Our research highlights a significant barrier.
Absolutely. That fear can almost freeze you. You might hesitate, not even want to try thinking in English if you're worried about messing up.
But the sources are really clear on this. Mistakes aren't failures, they're feedback.
Crucial feedback, actually.
Every time you make a mistake, it's a chance to learn, to adjust your understanding.
Okay, so we have overtranslation, grammar obsession, fear of mistakes. What else?
Well, this leads to a really key point about your environment, your daily surroundings. Our research shows that if your day is just saturated with your native language, it's incredibly hard for your brain to just sort of switch over naturally to English thinking.
That makes sense.
If English is only happening in, say, formal lessons, your brain's default setting for everyday thoughts will just stay in your native language.
It's like trying to get good at tennis by only reading the rule book, never actually hitting the ball.
Exactly. So what this means for you, the listener, is that you need to actively try and create an environment where English is just more present.
Okay, so that sets the stage. We know the pitfalls. Let's get practical now. What are some effective strategies people can actually use to start training their brain?
Yeah, let's get into the how. And what's interesting is that many of these techniques are pretty straightforward. You can weave them into your day without it feeling like some huge extra task.
Good. What's step one?
The first key step, based on our findings, is to consciously start naming objects around you in English.
Okay, sounds basic, but I can see how that works.
It's surprisingly powerful. It builds that direct link. Physical object, English word, no middleman.
So instead of just seeing your cup, you think cup.
Precisely. And you can take it further, like the sources suggest. Describe simple actions with those objects.
I am drinking coffee from my cup, something like that.
Exactly like that. It starts rewiring things, linking experiences directly to English.
Okay, naming objects, describing actions, what's next?
The next step kind of builds on that internal connection. actively talking to yourself in English.
Right. Self-talk. I know this can feel a bit weird at first for people.
It can, but trust us, the research really backs us up as a fantastic, low-pressure way to practice forming English thoughts.
Because nobody's listening, right? No judgment.
Exactly. So you're making tea, getting dressed, walking outside. Just narrate it. Simple stuff.
I'm choosing a shirt. It looks like rain today.
Perfect. You're training your brain to produce English thoughts spontaneously without that performance pressure.
Okay, self-talk. That sounds doable.
And it connects to developing that English inner voice we mentioned. The next strategy the sources recommend is making a real effort to use an English-to-English dictionary.
This is the big one. Ditching the bilingual dictionary.
If possible, yes. Or at least prioritizing the English-to-English one. It forces you to understand words within an English context.
So if you look up, say, excited, the definition is in English, like feeling very happy and eager.
Exactly. Rather than just seeing the translation in your native language, it builds connections between English words.
Which helps you think within the language. Boosts vocabulary and understanding differently.
It's a small change, but the impact on thinking patterns can be pretty significant. Now, building on vocab, the next step is about sentence structure. Intentionally think in simple sentences first.
Okay, so don't try to build masterpieces in your head right away.
Please don't. Our research shows many learners get discouraged trying that. Start basic.
Instead of, I believe I must visit the supermarket post-work due to a lack of necessary vegetables for the evening meal.
Chuckles, right? Just think, I need vegetables, or even just need vegetables.
Much simpler, less pressure.
It reduces that cognitive load, lets you focus on just establishing the basic English thought pattern. Complexity can come later, naturally.
Okay, simple sentences. Makes sense. What follows that?
This next one targets that inner voice directly. Actively try to develop an English one.
So consciously conduct your internal chatter in English.
Yes. You're planning, you're deciding. Instead of thinking about your day's schedule in your native language.
Try thinking, okay, first meeting at 9, then I need to call Sarah.
Precisely. It's like running a little English monologue or dialogue inside your head.
Integrates English thinking into just daily life stuff. Planning, deciding.
Incredibly valuable practice. And finally, maybe the most crucial, which we touched on, but it bears repeating, immersion.
Consistently immersing yourself in English.
Yes. Our research points to this again and again. Consistent exposure through listening podcasts like this, watching videos, reading.
Books, articles, whatever works for you.
It creates that rich environment where your brain just absorbs the language more naturally and thinking in it starts to become more automatic.
Okay, so let's recap those strategies quickly. We had naming objects.
Describing actions with them.
Self-talk, even if it feels weird.
Using an English-to-English dictionary.
Thinking in simple sentences first.
Developing that English inner voice for planning.
And finally, consistent immersion.
Exactly. Now, the big question, of course, is how do we make these things stick? How do we turn them into habits?
Right. Knowing is one thing. Doing it consistently is another. That's where you see the real change. What do the sources suggest for daily exercises?
There are some really practical ones. One effective technique is to sort of frame your day in English.
How do you mean?
When you wake up, take a moment, mentally outline your plans for the day in English. Okay, it's Tuesday, meeting at 10, need to finish that report.
And then maybe at the end of the day too?
Yes. Before sleep, review the day, also in English. What did I achieve? Did I learn something new?
Primes the brain in the morning, reinforces it at night. I like that.
Another great exercise suggested is setting a no translation rule for a specific time block each day.
Ooh, challenging. Even just 30 minutes.
Even 30 minutes. Make a conscious effort. Only English thoughts during that time.
It'll probably feel hard at first. You'll want to switch back.
Absolutely. But the act of trying to stay in English, that's the training. You're consciously bypassing translation.
Okay. And building on the self-talk idea.
Yes. Dedicate maybe just a few minutes each day to actually talking to yourself out loud in English.
Describing what you're doing right then.
Exactly. I'm washing the dishes. This email is tricky. The sun is shining. Doesn't need to be profound. Just verbalizing thoughts in English.
Gets it out of your head and into spoken practice.
Another exercise. Integrate English thinking into simple activities you already do.
Like when you're cooking or driving.
Or exercising, commuting, anything routine. Instead of letting your mind just wander in your native language, consciously focus your thoughts in English.
Okay, need to add salt now. That car cut me off. My legs are feeling tired.
Simple, relevant thoughts tied to the activity.
And the last exercise.
Keeping a simple English journal.
Writing it down.
Yeah. Just jot down thoughts. What happened in your day, maybe goals. The key here, according to the research, is don't stress about perfect grammar. Focus on expression.
Getting the ideas out in English?
Yeah.
It's also a way to track progress, maybe.
Definitely. So these daily habits, framing the day, the no translation time, talking aloud, thinking during activities, journaling, they really help solidify English thinking over time, make it feel more natural.
Of course, it's probably not always smooth sailing, right? People must hit challenges.
Oh, absolutely. It's a process, and the sources acknowledge common frustrations. Let's talk about those.
Okay. What's the big one?
Probably the most significant is just that automatic tendency to slip back into your native language. It's the brain's default, the well-worn path.
So what's the advice there?
Crucially, be patient, be kind to yourself, and start small.
Don't expect to switch entirely overnight.
No way. If you only manage a few English words or phrases before your brain reverts, that's still progress. Acknowledge it.
What?
And keep that English-to-English dictionary handy to help you stay in the zone.
Okay, patience, start small. What other frustrations come up?
Well, simply not knowing the right word in English for what you want to express.
Right, that moment where you just draw a blank. It's tempting to just translate them.
It is. But the sources suggest a better way. Try to describe the word you don't know, using simpler English you do know.
So if you can't remember refrigerator,
You could think, the cold box, where I keep food.
okay. Circumlocution, talking around it.
Exactly. It keeps you thinking in English, finding alternative ways to express yourself, even with vocabulary gaps.
Smart. What about just feeling stuck? Feeling like you're not making progress, losing motivation.
That's a really common one, too. The research emphasizes that this kind of progress, shifting your thinking, it's often gradual, not always obvious day to day.
So you might be improving, but you don't feel it.
Precisely. That's why tracking progress is so important. Look back at that journal you started.
Or maybe record yourself speaking now and then compare it later.
Great idea. Or just take time to reflect. Seeing how far you've actually come over weeks or months can be a huge motivator. The key takeaway is persistence. Patience and persistence.
It's a journey, not a destination kind of thing.
Absolutely. Thinking in English develops over time with consistent effort using these kinds of strategies. Don't get discouraged by the bumps in the road. Celebrate the small wins.
Okay. So to sort of wrap this deep dive up, the main message seems clear. Training your brain to think directly in English. It's doable.
Definitely achievable. It takes consistent effort, yes, but using the right techniques makes a huge difference.
And the core principles seem to be start small, don't overwhelm yourself.
Be consistent with those daily practices.
And crucially, don't let the fear of mistakes hold you back.
Every attempt, even just a single English thought, is progress.
So now, a final thought for you, our listener, to take away. Looking at all these ideas, what's maybe one specific tip or technique from our discussion today that you feel you can commit to, something you'll put into practice right away?
Yeah, just pick one thing to start with.
Think about how just consciously trying to shift that internal language, even a little bit, could open up new ways for you to understand and express yourself in English.
Embrace the challenge. Be patient with yourself. Keep practicing. And gradually, thinking in English will start to feel much more natural. It's an incredibly valuable skill to develop.